Kia ora everyone. Today I'm joined by Peter Casale and Felix Mann from MechaWeka, who are the runner-up winners to the 2020 Kiwi Game Starter competition with their game Battlecruisers. I'll be asking them questions about their current state of mind and to help get a snapshot of what life is like for them in this moment. The plan is to interview them again at the end of the year and see how things have changed. So thanks for joining me today, guys.
No worries.
No worries.
So one thing that I've seen with this kind of content is I want you guys to just say your name and what the date is. It's currently the 28th of April. It's actually the 27th, isn't it, for you, Felix?
Yes,
I'm gonna have to lie.
27th.
I'm gonna have to lie on camera, Felix.
That's okay.
Yeah, so just say your name and what the day is to the camera, one at a time.
Like, I have to say the wrong date, or do I say my date?
say your date. Just say
Okay.
your date. We don't want to start off
Fantastic.
by lying to the listeners. I feel like that will set a
Okay,
bad
cool.
precedent.
All
Actually,
right.
say your name, the date, and then what your role is in the game that you've launched.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Oh, that was 3 things. That's very complicated. Hey, I'm Felix. What date is it? It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, the 27th of April. And I'm the dev for Battlecruisers.
Hi, my name is Peter Casale. I'm the designer for Battlecruisers. It's the 28th of April, 2021.
Awesome. So right now, what is it that is keeping you guys up at night when thinking about your game?
At night, yeah. I mean, I'm generally a good sleeper, but I think I get what you're trying to ask. And to be honest, now post-release, because we released in February, post-release, the biggest concern for me has been making money. Because in the past, this was sort of a hobby project and there wasn't really money pressure, right? We were focused on trying to make a beautiful game that we love. And then if it made money, that'd be a bonus. But now that we released it, and it was, it's going pretty well. It's going a lot better than I thought. Now we're dreaming of, can we do this full time? But that adds a lot of pressure, right? Most games, especially indie games, do not make enough money for the creators to be full time. And so now we're trying to figure that out, and that's probably what would be keeping me up at night.
Yeah, good answer. Peter, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page as Felix with that. We've been trying to discuss what our direction forward is. It's pretty clear that the people, everyone loves the game. We're getting great ratings, great reviews, and it's just the problem is everyone wants more. It's the same complaint. More. We want more. We've done it all. Oh, we want more. It's like, well, okay. So we're scrambling. We're two guys. We're working part time on this, and I got a family. I got an infant daughter, and there's other parts of life that need my attention that I can't dispense with. So it'd be really good, as Felix says, to not have to worry about working for any other of my income, and I just can focus entirely on Battlecruisers. That's the dream. That's what we want. We want to establish MechaWeka as a studio in New Zealand, and for that we need money. And in order to get that money, we need to work full time. But then it's a catch-22.
Totally. And I appreciate just your honesty and rawness, because those are real issues that a lot of indie devs, if not all indie devs, have to deal with. So it's definitely interesting to hear that. What is it, though, to try get it of a more positive tone? What is it that you're most looking forward to for the future of Battlecruisers?
Battlecruisers is going to be the greatest real-time strategy game ever made, besides Supreme Commander, but the greatest one. It's 2D. It's got the style. We've got such scope for such destruction and chaos and beauty and new, adventurous, creative, imaginative wonders that no one's going to expect. We've got all of that. We want to do it. Okay, Felix, on to you.
Most excited about, to be honest, one of the most rewarding things with Battlecruisers is chatting to people or reading reviews of people who loved it. Like, that is it's just amazing. Or when we did play testing, like with our mates, and they don't want to stop playing. That's such a good feeling, seeing them enjoy it, and like online with Steam reviews, seeing people appreciate it. That's makes it so worthwhile. So seeing more of that, yeah, I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Cool. Getting a bit more granular, what are you hoping to achieve in the next 6 months? Feel free to withhold information if you'd like to keep it more secret and you haven't teased it. But if there is anything that you'd like to share, what is it in 6 months' time that you hope to have achieved?
Yeah, I mean, all publicity is good publicity, right? So we can share what our plans were. So I mean, like Peter and I said, we've been trying to sort of figure out our direction in the last few weeks. So this is what the plan was, but we're not 100% sure if that's what it will be. Basically, we want to add localization because currently it's just in English. So hopefully that will widen our audience. Next, we're working on DLC and expansion. Basically another 25 levels, 25 more units to add more. Oh, you said 6 months. Yeah, DLC might be 6 months to a year, but that was the plan. And then multiplayer. A lot of people have been asking for multiplayer, but that's very unlikely to happen in the next 6 months. That was like meant to be after the DLC.
We might be able to get the phone version going by then.
Oh, true. I forgot that. Yeah. So currently we're limited to tablets because the UI is a bit too small. So we've been working on, well, Peter's mainly been working on redesigning the UI to make it usable, nice to use on phones. So could squeeze that in with the DLC. Yeah.
Cool. Those are some great, just some great features and additions to make. So it's cool that you guys are aware of that stuff. What is it that you hope to gain from the mentorship program? Because I'm assuming I'm going to talk about the $10,000 prize money that you guys got and the mentorship program, and I'm going to speak as if I'm not quite sure of the process of if you've received it all or not yet. But what is it that you hope to gain from the mentorship program?
I'll leave this to you, Peter. I can answer after you.
I'm hoping that we can get some good advice. We've been chit-chatting to old Jason Del Rocca from Execution Labs, and he's given us some very strong opinions on our direction, and we're discussing that internally at the moment. So yeah, we're trying to do the right thing, and we really think he's got some good ideas and some solid execution plans. It's just we're just two guys trying to execute quite a daunting amount, I guess. We're hoping to get a mentor that will maybe help us fundraise, so then we can get some money to be able to just work full time, and not have to worry about doing other things. In that case, we're at least looking a bit more realistic that we can achieve these ambitious goals.
Yeah, the mentoring. I mean, we've been in touch with, what was his name, Lucas, I think, trying to organize the mentoring, but that hasn't kicked off yet. In the meantime, Peter, we reached out to Jason, one of the 3 judges. So we've been emailing him a little bit, and he's been giving, like Peter said, some very frank feedback, which is good, but like a lot of change of direction. Mainly, like currently on Steam, we're premium, right? You pay up front, and he's very strongly of the opinion that we should convert everything to free to play. Which, I mean, looking at the stats, I mean, he knows what he's talking about, so it makes sense, but it's a very big change.
Huge.
Yeah, totally. I mean, those questions, the market's constantly changing. There's constantly new things to take into account. So yeah, those are really important thoughts to be having. I'm not going to give you any answers or anything, and a lot of these things are going to be left with a very quiet, quiet pause afterwards, because it is, I think, yeah, I do really appreciate though, again, the fact that you guys are sharing all these struggles, because that's what will help others wanting to be in a similar position.
No worries. We'll tell you the answers in 6 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Carry
Well,
on.
that's the thing. In 6 months, there'll be a lot of answers to these questions. So, the $10,000 that you guys got as a runner-up winners to the Kiwi Game Starter which was provided by Balancing Monkey Games. How, because $10,000 isn't a hell of a lot. How do you see that money impacting the game, or how do you plan on using that money this year?
Well, first of all, we haven't got it yet. We're gonna email someone about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not a lot, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, but it was so cool just to get money, real money, because you work on the game so long.
You guys launched in February, but what is the most valuable lesson that you think you've learned about game development in the last 6 months or year, or the length of development that Battlecruisers has been in development for? What's one important lesson?
For me, the easy one is it's at least a third of it is marketing. It's not just game development and design and sound design and all that. It's also marketing. You have to do that. I mean, it's a competition of marketing, because you get these terrible AAA games that just have no imagination, just pumping billions of dollars into the industry just for ads. One mobile game company bought all of the YouTube ad traffic, all of it. Every single ad that was played on YouTube was for this one game, and this is what we're competing against. And that game was just meh, in my opinion, humble opinion. Yeah, but Felix will answer something a bit more.
Good advice, though.
That's what's the biggest thing we've learned? Marketing, that's a big one. Yeah, I mean, it's all things we've really read about and heard about, but then with the release, it becomes so much more real. Like, it's pre-release, that your game makes it or doesn't in the first week. Either you get the cycle of enough downloads, good reviews, that the Steam algorithm or the Apple algorithm or whatever it is recognizes your game, shows it to more people, and the cycle continues. Or we had a friend, he released a game. I hope he never watches this. He spent 2 years on a game and he released on Steam and he got 11 sales. So we wanted to top those 11 sales. But like, that's a very real result for, to be honest, most devs. Like, another article about Steam we read is that 80% of games that release on Steam make less than $5,000 in revenue in their first month. It basically means that you've died. And that's, I mean, it's a harsh reality, and just keeping that in mind, keeping realistic expectations so you're not crushed. Because I mean, game making, it's so much fun, and that's why so many of us do it. But just keeping in mind that you hear about the big stories that are mega just successes, but that's really the rarity.
Totally. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. What is it, though, that is the we've made it moment for you guys? It might be different for both of you, but what does that moment look like where you guys can look back at the journey of Battlecruisers and say, wow, okay, this is we've overcome this mountain?
I can tell you the exact moment if you want. It was brilliant. It was like day 2 of our release, day 3, and then someone shouted down the stairs, "Peter, we're on this homepage of Steam. We're on the front page of Steam." I went, "No way. We're on the front page of Steam." And I was like, this being on the front page of Steam, being chosen by the algorithm, is the single biggest predictor of success versus failure. The single biggest predictor in indie game launch. And we've just done that. That's right off there. Now we're a coin toss away from real success. And I ran upstairs and I went out onto my deck, and a guy happened to be doing a burnout somewhere down the road. So I started whooping, like in part to scare him away, but in part with mostly joy. I think it was about 120 decibels. Not really. It was very loud. And I had to console some neighbors after that. That was my moment. So yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, there've been a lot of moments. Just seeing the game grow from like nothing. I mean, we've never really made a game before, learning Unity, just even seeing the first unit work, then seeing the first time someone play tests it and really enjoys it and wants to keep going. And then on Steam, on the release day, I remember checking at night and we had, I forgot what we had, like 200 downloads or something. And I was like, that's way more than 11. And the first 2 weeks of Steam release were just unreal. Just, yeah. But then real success, I guess, if you look at it realistically, oh man, I feel like all our responses are like too dark. I like I guess when you can make, say, 50K each a year, I mean, success as in you can live off it.
Yeah, I would be totally okay if, you know, if it was New Zealand's minimum wage, which I think is like $20 an hour or something at the moment. I would happily work for that. And my old job was you know, that was quite a bit more. You know, I come from a semi-professional background, UX designer. So as a contractor, I made a lot more than minimum wage. But you know, minimum wage is enough to survive on. I'd be happy with that if it meant I just get to make games as my job forever. That'd be tick the box. I'm done. May as well die now. Can't top this. Not to get too gloomy either.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. It's like there's you're right. There's several moments throughout the kind of journey of a game that, you know, like you said, the first time the game's testable, the first time someone else play tests it, once you launch on Steam, like those are all real big moments. And then that next moment of being able to survive and have, you know, being able to live off minimum wage at least is another huge moment, like a huge accomplishment that you can say that you've developed a game that can do that. So that's awesome. My next question that I have is, what has been the most challenging part of development so far? So I'm kind of looking for an answer that's more based on the project itself. Like within the game, is there a certain area of the game that has proved to be the most difficult to develop?
Felix?
Most difficult to develop in the game. Well, the most difficult parts we just cut. So being like multiplayer. Tricky parts in the game. AI. The AI is pretty dumb. So that wasn't that crazy hard. I mean, some bugs, like some bugs with, I remember one with a fighter plane movement, and I had two types of movement. So one is like it's moving, and then the other one is the rotation to show like which way it's going. And so I had two test scenes in Unity testing each movement type, and individually they worked fine. And then I put them together, and then the fighter's jittering across the screen, and I don't know why. So that took a long time to figure out.
Remember when you figured it
that's
out?
just a bug. Yeah, that's good.
It was the test scene, and it was like 20 fighter jets versus 20 fighter jets. And this is the first time we'd seen jets do anything really good.
That's pretty cool.
And then they started swarming, and they created this formation of jets all firing at each other. It was all trying to get the one up on each other. And it was just like a flock of birds or something. It was amazing. It was so cool. That was a great moment for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's cool. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm curious for this, because this might change over time, especially, who knows, you guys might grow your team bigger, but what is, for each of you, what does a normal development day look like working on the game at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I get up and then I work on the game. And then usually I get in like an hour and a half before I go to my normal job. And then after work, depending on the day, sometimes I do train, sometimes I get to work on the game a little bit more. But that's probably the standard day. You get in an hour, maybe 1.5 hours before work, and then the same thing maybe after work. And then weekends are more open. So usually Sunday, I can get a lot done Sunday morning.
Yeah. For me, it's I deal with the kids and get everyone ready at home in the morning. Then I come down here, and as you can see behind me, I'm at my parents' house. I've just set up my computer down here so that when the kids all return, I won't be taken away. But I usually get my other work done first, all my boring work out the way, and then I save my Battlecruisers time to the end usually, unless I just got no heart for my other work, in which case I just cancel everything and just do Battlecruisers that day. So yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. That's your go-to when you're having a bad day. Battlecruisers is what
yeah, man. Yeah.
keeps the day positive. That's awesome.
Yes.
What is it? What is something that mattered a year ago today that didn't? What's something that matters today that didn't matter a year ago today?
What kind of complicated ass question is that, man? What matters today that didn't matter a year ago?
I mean, you guys have launched in February, so I think that's that's a completely different change of mindset. It must be from being on the store and not being on the store a year ago.
Yeah. Wait, what matters today and what not? Yeah, I mean, we already touched on that, but the game making money, right? Yeah. So like a year ago, there wasn't that pressure for me. I mean, to be honest, I expected a lot less than what we got, and I thought after launch, that's it, take a break. But now it's sort of doing well, and then so the worry is, I guess, making money once again.
Yeah, totally. It's a fair answer. Next question is, I'd love to hear the story. This could maybe come from one of you guys, or feel free to volleyball it between you two. But what is the story of how the idea for the game was born?
Peter.
Felix.
No. Peter came up with the idea.
Okay, so I walk up and down the beach a lot, and with the dogs, and I imagine explosions and stuff in the sand, and I make little noises like I just make noises like this going down the beach. Sometimes people notice, but I usually make it quite quiet when someone comes past me. And what I'll do is imagine a different kind of ordnance exploding in the sand. I'll imagine a fort on this side and a fort on that side, building little army men running towards each other, firing at each other, shells raining down, debris flying up, smoke through the sky, bombers running in, dropping all kinds of bombs with multiple warheads on them. And I would imagine all this cool stuff in my formulation of what could be the very best things I like about Supreme Commander and the other real-time strategy games I love. But I kept thinking, okay, so if a bomb blows up the crater in the ground, and then a guy is walking along, he has to then go through this crater, and how can he climb? And then we'll have to figure out how all these men are getting over these holes, and what happens if the hole goes all the way down to the bottom? You don't want terrain that just magically fills up. That's just stupid, because you've destroyed it. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen with a sandcastle. It doesn't happen with any part of reality. And then I looked to the right, and I saw the water, the horizon, and I thought, I started thinking about, what if it was on the water? Water comes back, so the boats could get across the water. So then it transferred to a land-based game to a sea-based game, and then it sort of snowballed from there. And then Felix and I were chit-chatting about game ideas one day, and we sort of got talking about this idea, and we both kind of volleyballed it from there, and came up with a pretty awesome concept. I think you'll agree.
Totally. Is there anything you want to add, Felix? Or you're happy with that?
No, I'm happy with that.
That's awesome. No, I love how it was the imagination and your passion for real-time strategy games, and that just kind of let it organically come to the surface, and then you just listen to that voice, and here we are. That's awesome. One question I have is, what is the last bit of the game that you've worked on?
Very last thing I've worked on. I mean, this morning I was working on. I mean, it's not so boring. We're working on the localization. So
yeah, I mean,
the tutorial. Yeah. The tutorial has little explanation boxes, and I'm working on that. So the thing with localization is the strings can be bigger, longer than English. So we have to accommodate that. So that was the last thing I was working on, the explanation.
Sweet.
Making that handle load. Yeah, for the tutorial.
And Peter, what was the last
I
thing?
was doing marketing this morning, but the most recent fun thing I was working on was the new weapon that's coming up called the iron cannon. You know how your ship factory goes in the front? Well, this in your bow slot, instead, this is an iron cannon. It's plugged straight into the front of your cruiser. And what it does is it circles a whole heap of mirrors inwards, making the iron particles all bounce off each other, compresses them, and then lets them go. And its jaws open, and a beam of blue light just goes wham across the sea lane and just smokes everything in the way. It's upcoming weapon.
That's cool. That's awesome. And things like that, that's people's dream, I think, to work on like new weapons and new ways of creating new types of gameplay and stuff. That's awesome. You guys kind of touched on this before, but I'd just like to rephrase the question and see if there's another way you guys want to answer it. But what's your work-life balance look like at the moment? Like, and are you guys happy with it?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for a long time. In February, when we released it, was 4 years. So it's been a long time. But I mean, generally, at my real job is what, 40 hours a week, like normal, and then. I mean, it varies, but I usually estimate maybe 10 hours a week on Battlecruisers, maybe sometimes 15. So that's normal. We've had crazy times, or just when you get really into it. Post-release, there was a time where I was working a lot more than that. But I think that's also normal post-release. But generally, because it's so much fun, it's fine. Like, I'm happy with the work-life balance. Although it would be nicer to still be full-time and just spend 40 hours on Battlecruisers and then have the 10 or 15 hours to do something else. Because it does, you notice the decision, I guess, the sacrifices you make, right? You're working before work, you're working after work, you're working weekends. It's all takes away from, I guess, everything else.
Totally. Yeah. Peter?
Yeah, I appreciate that. He's got a pretty demanding full-time job, and he still packs in Battlecruisers either side of it. Whereas I've reduced my hours down from full-time sometime before we launched, a few months before we launched, and I'm just working part-time on Battlecruisers, part-time on my other income. And yeah, I feel like at the moment I would actually like a lot more work, like, because once I've got my normal income work out of the way, that time would purely be pumped into Battlecruisers. But yeah, I've got 2 children. One of them is an infant, and you know, I coach a mixed martial arts class here in Silverdale, in near Auckland, and I do that 2 times a week. So there's various duties there that I take care of, and of course the dog needs a walk. One of our dogs died, but the other one still needs a walk because, you know, the dogs need walks. So. This is okay, is the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's I'm sorry to hear that. And yeah, it sounds like you guys are both balancing a lot. And I can only I would love to speak to you guys again at a later stage where you guys might be both working full-time on Battlecruisers. And I think there'll be such a crazy comparison to your current lifestyles to what that lifestyle might look like. So, and that's what we all hope for, right? We hope that you guys can get more funding, get more success, and see those kind of changes in lifestyle. So I appreciate your honesty, because it's just going to make that payoff so much better, comparing it in the future.
Yes.
So this is quite like a broader question, but I think it's still very interesting. What do you guys think about the gaming industry as a whole right now?
Right now, it's a disaster, man. It's just
tell me why, Felix.
Well, okay, so I mean, it's the same issue like if you want to be a professional athlete or a musician or anything or MMA fighter, where a lot of people want to do it professionally, but there are a limited number of spots. So I mean, a lot of people want to make games. Making games is more fun than working on some legacy product that's been there for 20 years. And so the issue is only a small proportion of people can actually make the money that do it full time. So, and I think that's just getting harder. Like, I feel like 10 years ago, there were less games. You had more of a chance as an indie dev, say, especially actually where their smartphones around 10 years ago. I don't even know. But like nowadays, the smartphone market is it's scary. Like in the last few weeks, we've been researching, and like Peter said, these big companies that have the experience, the resources, they develop these massive games, and then they can spend millions on advertising. So it's actually it's really scary and a little bit demoralizing as indie devs in that sense. But then on the plus side, in the last few years, well, actually, I don't know how long Unity has been around, but we use the Unity game engine, and that's amazing, right? That means that's enabled Peter and myself to make this game. Whereas before that, I don't know, 10 years ago, without that engine, you'd have to make your own graphics engine, which is huge, right? We'd have to spend maybe 2 years full-time working on a graphics engine that I don't know how to make a graphics engine. And who wants to make a graphics engine? So, I mean, there are pros and cons. It's a lot more competitive, but the tools are a lot better. And actually, the better tools have probably contributed to lower barrier of entry, more games, more competition. Yeah.
No, those are good points. Peter, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, well, I think Felix summed it up quite well. It seems like the industry itself is just booming. I read on Carl's content on Twitter that that the Oscars have depleted every year. The Oscar Awards, the Academy Awards, whatever they're called, and but the Game Awards have packed on the millions of viewers and
That's cool.
Streamers every year. 83 million last year. 83 million, and the Oscars 10 million. They're just going down and down and down and down. So this is 8 times bigger than the Oscars right now, and it's only heading in opposite directions. So games are the future. As you said, Carl, there's so much scope and imagination to games and potential that there just isn't in one directional media.
Totally. I think I think there's a ton of opportunity, a lot of money in the space, but I think maybe what can be, because it's so saturated, having more early stage funding for games might be a way to support those people that are really committed to creating new experiences and new games in certain genres. And that's definitely something that the NZGDA are advocating for, is just more early stage funding. And the $10,000 that you guys won is a very small piece, but it's something that gives a little bit of hope, to those people trying out. And we're going to try and just make that number grow and grow for people, because just like the Kiwi Game Starter competition, I foresee that it's just going to naturally grow, and there's going to be more submissions and more competition. The standard's going to get higher, and but if there's more money that can be put into supporting early stage indie devs for a longer period of time, then it can be maybe a nicer experience than what the majority of indie devs are suffering through at the moment. So yeah, I appreciate you guys sharing that. But yeah, gaming is booming from the outside looking in, but from the inside, the people that are really working their blood, sweat, and tears, there are still a lot of struggles and a lot of competition to get attention. So that's, I think, an important point to make.
Sure, there'll be at least 20, maybe 50 games developed in New Zealand right now, indie games that have the quality potential to be as popular as any of these big AAA games. No doubt.
Totally. Now, I'd love to know what you guys, maybe just quickly, if there's any quick 3 steps that you could give, but what is the best approach to game development in your opinion?
Felix.
This is our first game, so we're veterans here. We know what we're doing. So keeping that in mind, 3 steps. 3 steps. I mean, the first step is to come up with an idea. And I guess the important part here is to keep the scope small. You play it, I mean, you see all these AAA games, and so you want to make all these great things. And then once you start on it, you quickly realize this is going to take your lifetime. So yeah, 1, have the idea, make it start small. Now I have to come up with 2 more steps. The next step is keep at it. Like just try to keep at it every day. I think it's hard to come back if you take a too long break, like a month. And then the third thing is, what would the third thing be? For me, it really helped that there are two of us. So it's cool to have two of you going at something. You can bounce ideas off each other. You can help each other out when it's like, if you've got low motivation or you're going through a rougher time. So yeah, I mean, if you can find a mate to do it with, especially if you've got complementary skills like dev and designer, that's good. Or some friends that you're sharing the growth of the game. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good piece of advice, Felix. And I definitely hear that a lot amongst other indie devs. And I think if you follow those three things, then you have a much better chance than, you know, your confidence and motivation is a lot stronger. So speaking of motivation, do you guys feel more motivated now than you did 6 months ago? Or do you feel like 6 months ago there was more of a fire underneath the project?
Definitely more motivated now, because 6 months ago, we didn't know whether we were going to be the 999 out of 1,000 games that don't make it past their first month, have failed in their first week. You know, we didn't know we were not going to be one of those. We were just doing everything we could to work to making ourselves as visible and as polished as we could. And we were really cramming in those last few months, like big long days. Then we thought, you know, if we bank all of our hopes and dreams, like Felix says, if we hook ourselves on this now and it doesn't fail, it's going to be crushing. You know, it was just going to be devastating. If we sold 2 copies, okay, then okay, our game's a flop. That's the end, and that's the whole dream. But right now, we've done well in our first month or two, and we now have this bubbling potential of a somewhat proven product. We won the Kiwi Game Starter Award at the start. You know, we got that second place there, which is huge. We've got something that could really work. It's like now it's like I feel even more eager to seize it and see it through to its end. You know, more than before, for sure.
Awesome. I feel that. Felix, do you feel more motivated now or 6 months ago?
I mean, how honest am I meant to be in these?
Super honest, brutally
honest. Okay, let's be brutally honest. 6 months ago, I mean, the releasing part, getting to that stage, I was super motivated for that because we'd invested so much time and I wanted to see it through. So there was that motivation. But then, to be honest, 4 years is a long time. So it was also like, I just want to get this out. I want to finish this. I want to, because there's so many ideas we wanted to keep adding, but just getting it out. Because the fear was always, if you keep it too long, maybe it does never finish. So 6 months ago, I guess, I think there was a lot of motivation to finish it. Now the motivation is, and we're in personally, I'm in a turbulent time trying to figure out how to make this work. Because I mean, Peter and I, we both have the same dream, but seeing how to make that a reality. Yeah.
Totally. I think every project has those moments, those ups and downs, and you know, to get to the next peak, you need to go even further down, and it's all part of the process. You know, I don't think any project's been a good thing with another good thing with another good thing, and it's, you know,
That's true.
It's never easy. So
true.
I do appreciate your honesty, and like you said, the motivation behind launching is definitely something that keeps you going, and maybe you guys are looking for that next thing, that next kind of benchmark to reach, and you guys are currently in that process of figuring out if it's funding, if it's like you said with Jason and the advice that he's given. You guys are balancing a lot of important decisions with the future of the game, and that's all part of the process, and I'm sure you guys will make the best choice and figure it out. So I only have a few more questions left, and I just want to, this one's kind of not really personal, but it's more I guess promotional, but how would you define your game in 3 words?
Explosive real-time battles.
Nice.
Nice. I like it. That's why I'm the dev. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's it's a great way to sum it up. Now, the last question I have is, it's more of just like an open-ended question, but are there any stories about the development over the last 4 years that you think would be valuable in sharing? Like, were there any moments that you guys thought of pulling the plug, or was the game something completely different? Were there any big turning points in the development that you think would be interesting to share?
For me, it was actually surprising how I don't think I ever truly considered pulling the plug in those 4 years. It was seeing the growth. The growth was always there in features, seeing the game come together, and especially in the last year, the polish that was added, seeing with like relatively little effort how the game came even better. So it was, I don't think it ever came close to being like, oh, actually, no, I do think of something. So I don't remember when it was, but Peter had Kia, his second child, the infant he was talking about. So that was actually a rough patch for me, because I mean, for him too, probably because he was sleep deprived and had to take a break from. He doesn't remember any of it, but so he had to take a break from Battlecruisers for a couple of months, and that was hard for me, because then I mean there was no design work, and then I mean I knew he was coming back logically, but yeah, going from a team then to being by yourself, yeah, that was pretty tough actually.
No, thanks for
Not
sharing
having
that.
any more kids, so it's going to be all right.
That's what you think.
Peter, is there anything that comes to your mind that you'd like to share?
I have never thought about stopping doing this at any point. I've not even considered it. It's something that can't really die for me. I don't think it's, even if Felix exploded, spontaneously, and I was like, my hands dropped off, so I couldn't do anymore, I'd still think about it. I'd still wonder about it. I'd still talk about it. It's just, I'll do what I can. And yeah, there's no end to Battlecruisers.
I love that. That was a really motivating way through explosions and losing your limbs to just talk about, yeah, how passionate you are at the core. It's part of your identity now. And I think that's really, really powerful. Wow. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to share your thoughts and your feelings. You guys really just were honest and raw, and that couldn't have made this any more valuable and insightful. So thank you so much for sharing, and I can't wait to check in with you guys later on in the year to see how all these challenges that you guys are facing, how they've panned out, how the game's doing, and to just see how that journey develops. So thank you so much for your time, and I wish you guys the very best with the next chapter of your game.
Thank you, Carl.
Thanks a lot, Carl. It was fun.
Thanks, guys. See you later.